It's really up to each individual to decide if they want another one and when the time is right. And so you really have to talk about it with people that you trust and ask yourself, can I give this pet attention and love, the type that they deserve, right? That's the most important thing. And to know that that pet that you get is never going to replace the other one. Even if they look identical, you can't expect that pet to act or behave or do the same things. Otherwise, you're going to be disappointed and maybe a little neglectful and resentful, which is not a great start to a relationship.
Welcome to the Pet Care Report podcast by Pet Summits. Here's your natural dog healthcare host, Alora McKinley.
G'day guys, welcome back to another episode of the Pet Care Report. Now today is a bit of a tough episode for me. I lost my youngest dog back in May. She was only 1 and it was just a tragic accident. It's something that I still struggle with. At some stage, every pet owner has to navigate the loss of a pet. And so today I'm honoured to be chatting with Erica, the founder of Wolfie's Wish. After the heart-wrenching loss of her cat, Wolfgang, Erica pioneered the unique concept of pet loss grieving cards, a touching way to navigate pet grief. Welcome to the podcast, Erica.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here and for talking about this important yet delicate and difficult subject.
Yeah, and it's something that everyone has to face at some stage. Can you share with our listeners a bit about why you started Wolfie's Wish and then the mission behind it?
Well, I have a similar story, and that Wolfgang was my cat and COVID companion. And he also died tragically and suddenly at 1.5 years. And it was just indescribably devastating, really hard to convey and even understand myself, the depth of pain that I felt, the confusion that I felt. I was having some PTSD-like symptoms. I knew I needed some help and getting through this difficult time. Otherwise, I was really afraid I was going to be stuck in my grief or stuck in sadness and really not move through this experience. So I was sharing with my mom what had happened and, how do I cope? And I was looking for affirmation cards right off the bat, to be honest, because it's a simple tool that I've used many times. And I love that they're daily digestible tips, tools, and practices. And I thought, if I can get something like this for pet loss, then I can work slowly through this experience. And I couldn't find any. I did find a lot of books, and I just didn't know which one to get. I didn't know how much of it I had to read. So fast forward, I really kind of just sat in my chair, which is right over there, every morning and had my coffee and a candle and just said, okay, what do I need to do today to get through this? And as I shared these things with my mom, it was really simple stuff, like having that candle to honor Wolfgang every morning and light it. And I still have it. I've bought the same candle over and over, and they're sold out now, so I'm kind of panicked. But anyway, we would talk and I would share these. And she said, I really think that you should make that deck that you couldn't find. Everything you're sharing with me sounds like really good ways that I would want to have. And we talked about this for many days, but my initial reaction, honestly, was, Mom, I don't know how to do that, and I'm grieving right now. I don't have any experience in that, and I don't want to. After I got some professional counseling to help me digest what had happened and make sure that I was on a healing path, that counselor told me that all of my symptoms were normal. And I always say that with a pause because it was like the earth cracked a little bit, because I went, wait a minute, other people feel this way. I'm not special. I'm not crazy. Something hasn't happened to my brain. And that was the pivotal moment where I called my mom and I said, Mom, did you know? And she said, yeah. I mean, I'm really devastated when my cats die. She's a serial cat owner. And I said, well, let's look into this some more. Let's see, does everyone feel this? How many people feel this way? And is it only pertinent to certain pets. Like, what if you have a less common pet, like a rabbit? Do you really grieve that? And the answer was yes. It's universal. And yet it's still taboo to talk about. It's still difficult to talk about. For some reason, we went through this period of having pets for protection not that long ago, or cats to get rodents, and this common theme that's still talked about like it was just a pet. But now we have birthday parties for our pets. We have birthday cakes for dogs. This is a really big change that's happened in our lifetime. So it's no longer permissible to say that phrase, and I want to see that eradicated. What about you?
Oh, I guess it just depends what stage of life you're in. Like, animals provide so much to us, whether you're older and it's good company and encourages you to go out, or whether it's younger and you want that for companionship. They just provide so much, eh? Obviously, you've done quite a bit of research along your healing process. What are some impactful coping strategies or methods that you've found to help individuals navigate the grieving process?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's something that I try to share as much as possible. And when I made this deck of 30 cards to be read once a day, of course, I gave them to as many people as possible and said, do these apply to you? Do you like these? Do any of these not resonate with you? Do you hate any of them? And the answer was no. And so one of the simple things you can do is write a letter to your pet, or write the story of your pet. I call it a love letter because I wrote probably 7 pages of the things that I loved about Wolfgang, the reason that our bond was so special to me. And, I laughed and cried, and it felt so good to get this on paper, because I think a lot of us worry that we're going to forget our pets. We're going to forget the joy that we had. We're going to forget their quirks. And so some people will hold on to their grief in effort to hold on to their pet and those memories. But I know I have that letter tucked away, and I'm going to read it and laugh and cry one day. So that's one really simple thing you can do. In fact, I found that so helpful, and found that other people were doing that as well, that I made a love letter template, which anyone can download from my website just as a starting point. But really, you can do it in a journal, right? Or whatever is comfortable to you.
And how about getting another pet? Because I know some people like to, think that maybe if they just focus on something else, maybe they'll be able to cope a bit better. What have you found in terms of getting another pet?
Yeah, I've found that it's really up to each individual to decide if they want another one and when the time is right. And so you really have to talk about it with people that you trust and ask yourself, can I give this pet attention and love, the type that they deserve, right? That's the most important thing. And to know that that pet that you get is never going to replace the other one. Even if they look identical, you can't expect that pet to act or behave or do the same things. Otherwise, you're going to be disappointed and maybe a little neglectful and resentful, which is not a great start to a relationship, right? So for me, I waited, I think, 3 months, and I adopted 2 more cats, sisters, because I needed one for insurance. We lost a cat just a year earlier, and Wolfgang was I hate to use the word replacement, but that's what he was. And so then I lost him, and I thought, oh my gosh, all right, now I'm just getting 2. So that was a good fit for me. And one of them bonded with my husband, one of them bonded with me, and she completely healed my heart. It's not the same, but I think my favorite thing I have to share is that in the morning when I wake up, I have nicknames for my cats, and I call her, and she comes in and gets in the crook of my arm, and that's how I start my day. And I can't think of a better way to start my day. So, just that little thing has made such a big difference to feel love and give love. I think that's what is so special about animals, is that, we have a bond with them.
And how about family and friends? Because I know sometimes people can say the wrong thing. Maybe they don't mean to. What do you think family and friends can do to help someone that's grieving a pet?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think the best thing is to ask, how can I support you? what would that look like? Can you tell me some things that I can do? Can I do some chores for you? Can I bring you some food? Do you want to watch a movie? Do you want to be left alone? And really just communicate, because those things are going to change from day to day and they're never going to be the same for any person. So it's just best to have a conversation and let them know you care. And then to never say it was just a pet or just get another one. I know everyone's trying to be helpful and they really don't know what to say. So that's why I like to advocate to just have a conversation on, what showing up for that person looks like. And just saying, I know this must be really hard for you, is even better than saying, I'm sorry for your loss, because that's just a little complicated, right? And it's a delicate situation. And I think these changes can happen gradually over time. And we will no longer have that stigma of, it was just a pet. Why are you so upset? It's time to move on. You would never hopefully say that to anyone who has just lost a family member, a human family member. And I also think pets are family. So at least now they are.
Yeah, and I was just for me, something that I found really, really beautiful. My dog's name was Poppy, and some people sent me some flowers with poppies in them, or maybe they sent me a sticker of a poppy, and just little things like that. Just show that they cared, and it was really nice. And it's something that I remember.
Right. That's beautiful. What a great association to have. That's really easy, because then when you see them growing, or, you see pictures or wherever they show up, right? The Wizard of Oz, although that's kind of a bad connotation, isn't it? But it's like a little signal to you. It's a little signal to you.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me of the people that sent it, just how much they care, because how much thought they put into to thinking about that. Anyway, how about pet professionals? What can they do? Maybe if their client is losing their pet, what can they do to help?
Yeah, that's a really hard question to answer, because I think that the pet professionals also grieve and feel a little uncomfortable, revealing that. And I think it's, again, good to have an honest conversation. And I know some pet professionals that have been with a family when they had to say goodbye and did an in-home euthanasia, and how beautiful to share that experience with someone that also loved your pet like family, and to ask that family, just have a conversation. It's the same thing. Like, how can I show up? And is it okay that I share with you, that I'm grieving too, and I'm missing, Poppy or Wolfgang or whoever the pet was. And then to just, respect people, respect that their timing and their grieving process is going to be different, and to have an open heart. And I don't think you could go wrong, right, when you speak from your heart.
Now, we've emphasized the importance of celebrating our dogs' lives. Sometimes we do birthdays, or we do the anniversary of when we picked them up. Can you share some ways pet owners can create lasting tributes or memories that honor the bonds that they shared with their furry companion?
Oh gosh, yes, there's so many. And I have to say that I just celebrated, and I say celebrated, the passing of Wolfgang on October 9th. And this is the second year, and I had a little cake with my family, and we just honored him in a way that was meaningful for us. And that it made me feel good. And that's the important thing, is to think of, it can be anything. What is going to make your heart feel good to remember your pet? Anniversaries of their death can be really hard. And so I've created a monthly memorial tribute where I play harp on Instagram, and I have people add in the pets' names in the comments. So finding community, I think, is really important any stage in your grief, whether it's been, one day or 10 years, because those are people that will relate and understand and get you and support you, which is ultimately what we all want, is to be validated and understood and felt cared for. Some other things, I've seen people have little, if you want to call it a shrine or altar or dedicated space in their home where they can put some of their pet's belongings and photos that they can see frequently, and so feel that they're connected to their pet, which is also really important, is to find ways that you feel connected. You personally are lucky to have the symbol of a poppy, which probably is more common than some people whose pets' names are just, I don't know, a normal name. Like I'm thinking even the name Lucky, you have Lucky Charms, you have St. Patrick's Day. There's a lot of associations. So having even a photo album that you can go to and remember your pet. I've got, when I type in videos in my iPhone, for example, I can see all those silly little videos that I took of Wolfgang growing up as a kitten with an eye infection to, well, I would call him, if he was anything else, he'd be a Tasmanian devil, honestly, and in the cartoon sense. Oh my goodness, what this cat would not get into, I do not know. He was constantly entertaining us, just making us laugh. So that's really, really important, is to remember the good times.
Yeah, and I know I put some photos up on our wall of Poppy, and I go to my daughter, she's only one. I say, "Oh, here's Poppy," and we remember her that way. So it's nice to keep the memory alive and think of all the good times.
Exactly. And even picking up new habits. Like if you join, we have a support group, and I encourage people to share things that are working with them. And so you might find and adopt new things that you didn't think of, which is why I think having a community of some sort is so important, whether it's on Instagram and following some accounts like ours or others to celebrate the life of your pet with people that understand.
Is that community free for anybody to join? I'm just thinking if maybe our listeners want to jump on and get some ideas.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Great.
absolutely. It's Wolfie's Wish Pet Loss Support Group on Facebook. And we just ask that you are, respectful of everyone else and agree to be supportive. And we love to encourage members to share their story of how they met their pet or what the special bond was like. So it's a really warm and welcoming group. And it's also administered by 4 pet loss counselors. So if you have questions, you can post it and one of us will get back to you. I'm not a pet loss counselor, so I want to make that clear, but I do facilitate the group and participate just about every day, and I love it.
So then for our listeners, what's the number one tip that they can take away when we're talking about grief and loss of a pet?
Yeah, I think to just feel that you have support, people do care, and that your grief is important and your healing process is important. To not let people try to minimize it. In fact, the bigger that you can sort of expand on those feelings, I think it facilitates your healing. So just acknowledge your own grief and pain and that it's normal, and give yourself the space to move through it.
Thank you so much, Erica. There's some really great tips. And if our listeners want to find out more about Wolfie's Wish, how can they do that?
Oh yeah, I think if just a Google search, we're growing so much. But our website is wolfieswish.com. We also have wolfieswish.eu, which has got an interactive tool. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, so all the socials, even Pinterest. And that's why I said, I wanted to have a platform for everyone, whatever that looks like. So if you Google us, you'll find what you want, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. What kind of things, because I saw you've got a blog on there, what kind of things can people find on your website?
Yeah, it's growing all the time. So like I mentioned, we have this new interactive tool where it's called Play with Wolfie, and he's sort of like an oracle cat that will give you an affirmation for the day, which is really fun. I've got a YouTube channel with interviews with pet experts, a blog. We've got links to counselors. It's really full of stuff. And then I mentioned the downloads are available too. And you can even get a sample of the cards right now. I don't know that we'll leave that up indefinitely, but for people that are curious about them and want to know how they work, we do have a download available now.
About counselors, because, sometimes we do need a bit of extra support to help get ourselves through these things, don't we?
Yeah, it's good to have someone that you can confide in and really talk to on a professional level, that maybe you have questions that you don't want to put in a public group, or maybe even bring up within your own family. And definitely, if anyone is having any suicidal ideation, it's really important to talk to a professional. I did, and I'm not ashamed of it. It just shows how severe and serious pet loss grief can be.
Thank you so much, Erica. I really appreciate you coming on today and educating us all on pet loss and grief. And for our listeners, if you could follow, subscribe, leave a review if you found something interesting. This helps us reach more pet owners who might benefit from this information. And as always, we'll add lots of links in the show notes. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next episode.